Welcome to our channel Top Reddit Story. Make sure to subscribe our channel and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our hardest to reply your comment. How do you cope with not being so physically attractive? Most of the time I forget about it. And then sometimes I remember and get real sad. But then I remind myself that it's not too important anyway and kinda forget about it again. Edit. Big thanks kind strangers for the gold and silver. I didn't know that so many people felt the same way. Try to dress as nicely as I can afford. Stay clean. Be friendly. Try to make people laugh, all things that can be done by choice. I used to think my unattractiveness would doom me to a life of loneliness, but I shocked myself and now have a normal, beautiful girlfriend. So the key is basically just not falling into the mindset of I'm ugly so nobody will ever want me. Edit. Grammar. By not trying to attract anyone. By going to the gym and working to make yourself into the person you want to be. Ugly faces are gym resistant. IDK man. I'm a hunchback janitor and I just sort of do my own thing. My wife likes me. My sons like me. Nobody else's opinion really matters. I put effort into my physical appearance anyway. Dress nicely. Style my hair. Try to be fit. Sometimes wear makeup. Few people are naturally attractive enough to look nice when they don't put in any effort. And few people are unattractive enough to not look nice when they try. I know so many people who complain about being unattractive. But what's really going on is that they've never put in any effort. In particular, I see tons of men who really just need to take care of their skin and get a flattering haircut. I go to the gym and take care of myself so I will at least be the best looking version of me. Can't help my face much, but at least I am in decent shape, which still gives me some points. I generally make an effort to avoid mirrors. The feels. I've been unable to truly look at myself in a mirror since I was a teenager and I'm in my 30s now. I try to only look at what I need to look at, such as my hair when I'm styling it before going out. But haven't actually let myself think about any other part of my reflection, if that makes sense. Hearing my mom say I'm a handsome guy and girls would be lucky to be with me. The voice in my head tells me my mother is lying. I personally avoid showing too much of what makes me insecure. For example, I have really crooked teeth, so I don't show them off that much. I do. But the most I do so is when I laugh. I try to often smile with my mouth closed to show off my dimples instead of my crooked teeth. I am also really skinny and have zero to no bobs, so I wear clothes that fit nicely, that distract that fact and accentuate the good parts about me. Sometimes you just have to overlook the bad stuff. Try to find parts that you like about yourself and make the most of it. Pretend not to care about the girl I kinda find attractive and act like an asexual moron. I've pretty much accepted that I'll die alone. My macro pen 15 doesn't help with it either. My hair ducking sucks. I'm losing bunch of them each day. I've got a dad bod, which is the only thing that can be improved. Never went on a date. Never got checked out by a girl, and usually when I approach a girl for any reason, I can already sense the disappointment from a distance. It's hard to generate confidence within. I just wank my way into oblivion and go through cycle of regret. No one's ever stated their interest for me, so I think I should just try to get my life together as much as possible and castrate myself. Just accept the fact and look on the bright side. At least PPL will mind their own business towards you and there will be no arguments about you. Hiding in my house and not going outside. How many wins you got in Apex Legends? I am not and have never been physically attractive. I have a lazy eye, a big forehead, an out of shape nose. My teeth are ducked because I could never afford to get braces. I'm short, chubby, and I've got scarring on my legs. But I learned to accept that. I take care of myself because I have every right to. Make sure to try new outfits and hairstyles so I get some confidence. And I try not to let what people say get to me too much. 1. Lost weight. 2. Bought new clothes. 3. Got new makeup. 4. Paid more attention to my posture. People often have no idea how much posture matters in attractiveness. It's not just body either. Standing up straight with shoulder back slims the neck and jawline, making your whole face look better. I just forgot how I looked in the past and I stopped caring about it. Although it really got hard for me the moment I found someone I like. I don't even try in the first place. It's not a simple matter of, oh, just lose weight and put some makeup on. I'd need full-on plastic surgery before I look even remotely feminine. My boyfriend thinks I'm attractive and strangers on the internet think I'm funny, so that's really all the validation I need. In my 20s I was just insecure. In my 30s I had also gained weight. But employment threw me into situations where I met a lot of people and I knew 2 men who nearly everyone liked. They were both very homely but very friendly, and I noticed one thing about them. They always made you feel good when you were around them. They smiled when they saw someone across a room and came right over acting like it had been years since they had seen you. They laughed at your jokes and made you feel that what you said was important. I learned that. I am now really old. Old enough to be many Redditors' grandmother. But I have a ton of friends and admirers. I have been engaged 4 times and followed through to marriage twice. 2 men after I was in my 50s pursued me enthusiastically. I absolutely am well groomed and cleanly dressed. I am also kind. And I make people feel good. And I am loved. Do I still feel insecure? Yup. I cringe at photos of my pudgy aging self. But I am successful and happy as long as you don't show me a picture, and I am never without friends. At a certain point, I decided duck it. I am attractive. And then I started treating myself like I was attractive. I started buying clothes that I liked, not just clothes that were practical. And shoes that made me feel like I was queen of the world. I started playing with my hair. And doing fun stuff with it I had been afraid to do before. Because I was afraid it wouldn't look good. I started working out. And eating whatever I wanted. Because who gives a shit what my body looks like? As long as I feel good. I am not physically attractive. Not really. I have chubby cheeks. Stretch marks that will never go away. Bumpy. Red skin. An uneven hairline. Lots of scars. And a bit of a belly. But I have learned to accept myself as I am and treat myself as though I'm 100% hot stuff. And it has greatly increased my self-esteem. And it might just be the self-esteem. But it has also affected my relationships. I find that people treat me better now that I'm treating myself better. Humor and alcohol. I think the most painful part of it is to have a really beautiful character. But not to be able to show it to a lot of people. Because looks matter in the beginning. I kinda accepted the fact that I am not physically attractive. Sometimes it hurts when I think about not to find my other half. But I still want to enjoy my life. I learned to find happiness while being alone and also enjoy traveling alone. I'm not conventionally attractive. And I have never thought I was pretty. I think I've always been a bit jealous of all these naturally pretty girls who don't even have to make an effort. But in the last couple of years, I've started to see myself in a different light. And just generally liking myself more. I started to realize that it wasn't other people that told me I was ugly and unlikable. It was just the voice in my head. Or out loud telling self-deprecating jokes. Not listening to my mean voice. I started to hear other people saying good things about me. And I started telling myself good things. It doesn't work every day. But damn, it feels good to like myself. I'm nice. I'm funny. I'm good at my job. I'm a good friend. I'm smart. I'm caring. And you know what? I'm pretty the way I am. And so are you. Unfortunately, at some point we all have to realize that it's highly likely that we won't change on the attractive scale anytime soon. Personally, I focus on trying to be funny and witty because I know my looks will turn even lights off. There's only so much you can do about your physicality. You can work out. You can style your hair and wear nice clothes. But people really respond to a confident, charismatic personality. Learn to be who you are. And to be kind. Kindness is the single most attractive characteristic in a person. And if you foster your own kindness, people will notice. I've always thought that if I can't be physically attractive, I've just got to have an attractive personality. So anytime I like someone's character traits, I try to mimic those same traits that I found attractive, and eventually in doing this, I've become very likable. Work on yourself. Find new hobbies. Go to the gym. Meditate. Use the negative energy towards bettering yourself and make yourself more attractive. Not for anyone else, but for you. You got this. It all starts with confidence. I know I'm not ugly, but I'm mediocre. It sucks sometimes, BC. No one really fought for my attention growing up, and I only really got hit on by people when my best friend was around. She's no knockout, but she has amazing bone structure in her face that is like a moth to flame when it comes to guys. So I grew up funny. I invested in being smart. And I made sure I was empathetic and personable. I've been dating my GF for 4 years now, so I assumed it worked. Neither of us are conventionally attractive. But she's also really smart and funny, and her inner self really makes me see how beautiful people can be when they are true to themselves. Doing my best to get as physical attractive as possible, working out every day, eating healthy, dressing in a way that enhances the good, hides the bad and shows some style. Also just staying positive. Being funny, kind and clever make up for lack of physical attractiveness most of the time. I honestly don't know if I'm attractive, but I tend to see people looking at me or staring at me. So honestly, I might be attractive, but I look like a frog in the wind to myself. Knowing that someone out there will still probably be physically attractive to me because everyone has different taste. You don't have to look like the popular models, because they're not everyone's flavor. Also, I try to look the best I can. Taking care of myself. Showering regularly. Skincare. Getting my hair cut. Married women of Reddit. What was it that your husband did that made you realize he's the one? Nothing at all. I remember sitting with him in the car. He was driving and it was quiet. I looked over and had a feeling of peace, calm, a feeling of home. And that was when I knew we were going to be together forever. Another moment that solidified my feelings. We were engaged and had a huge fight, and I stormed out. Got in my car. And drove off. As I was driving, I thought of people, friends I could go to tell what had happened and how I was feeling. As I went through my list, I came to the realization that the person I wanted to talk to the most was my best friend, and he was the person I had just left. We have been married now for 25 years. Our looks have faded, we get on each other's nerves, but he is still my best friend and I can't imagine a world without him right by my side. About 2 months into dating, we'd gotten to the point where we would just visit each other's apartments randomly. He comes over to visit. But unfortunately, I was stuck on the toilet with a UT. Honestly, I felt like I had to pee all day and just could not leave the bathroom. I embarrassingly explained this to him through the bathroom door and he says, "No problem. Hold on a minute." He slowly opens the door with his eyes closed, a still in one hand and his laptop in another. He sets his laptop on the sink opposite me and the still into my shower, which was divided from the toilet by a closet, so we could both see the laptop, but not each other. Then he sat down and we watched Happy Feet together while I was on the toilet the whole time. I nearly cried. He told me he loved me, and I could feel in my heart the way he looked me so often, how he touched me with love, the way he smiled at me when I looked at him. 40 years. He was kind to a homeless man, knew his name, and the man knew his. We will be married 20 years next week. Friday night on our way home from dinner, waiting at a red light, a homeless man who has been frequenting the intersection did a little dance and flashed us the peace sign. My husband rolled down his window and handed his to-go box out to him. There was an untouched beautiful hamburger in that to-go box, which he was looking very forward to eating later on. And I thought, 20 years later, perfect. He is still perfect. He went on a 3-day road trip with a friend and I was in abject misery the entire time. I distinctly remember wandering into my kitchen, opening the fridge for the 1000th time that day, and just staring into it thinking, WTF is wrong with me? Oh my god, I love him. He got back from his trip at around 1 AM, called me, and immediately got right back in his car and drove to my house. I confessed my realization. He said, "It's about time." And we've been together ever since. That was August 1999 and we married in October 2001. We had been dating on and off for almost a year. I am a huge bookworm and wanted to go to a book reading on Halloween by one of my favorite authors but couldn't think of anyone who would want to go. He immediately jumped at the chance. Got really dressed up. Took me out before for dinner. Then drove me to the book reading. He loved the reading even though he'd never read a book by the author before. I could tell he was so happy to be there. Then he insisted we stay after to get a book signed no matter how long it took. And we were almost at the end of the line so it took about 2 hours. When we finally got to meet the author he complimented my now husband for dressing so nicely and in my book wrote, "To Coach Nope, I envy you. He's gay. By the way, we've now been together 5 years. 2 married. And have a baby on the way." We like to joke that it was his approval that sealed the deal. But the whole night made me realize how exceptionally thoughtful he was and how happy he was just to be with me. That's when I knew how lucky I was to have him and I wasn't letting go. The author's approval was the cherry on top. Edit. The author is David Sedaris. Chuck Palahniuk is another favorite and a good guess though. He took me to an outdoor concert when we hadn't been dating long. It was a hot day and I was dehydrated so I passed out. He picked me up and carried me through the crowd to the first aid tent. I woke up while he was carrying me and realized that I had fallen in love with a superhero who would always be there to protect me. 5 years later he's emigrated to another country for me and we're happily married. He had a cork on a string tied up in a doorway as a toy for his cat. It was a very cute cat that would wait outside the house for him to return from work and would follow him down the road to the shops. That cat really loved him and they are good judges of character. I figured someone who treated his cat right would treat me right. 20 years on, and on cat no 3, and I have been proved right every day. Plus he snogged like a king on our first date. The first time he met my family, we were at a lake house. I went to take my dog out in the yard and I unknowingly walked into a massive ground bee nest with my pup. They got in my dress bathing suit and were all in my dog's fur. I ran screaming into the house with my dog. Both of us covered in bees and brought dozens of bees into the house with me. He ripped all of the bees out of my dog's fur. Helped my mom heal all of the bees I brought into the house with me while I was literally running around screaming and ripping my clothes off. And then retrieved my purse that I dropped near the nest, which had so many bees on it you could barely see the actual material of my bag. That was one of the most terrifying moments of my life so far, because bees in my bathing suit. But I remember being so shocked that someone I had not been dating that long was caring enough to battle a shit ton of bees for me. Growing up I didn't have the best example of love as my parents fought a lot and weren't very lovey-dovey. But when I met my biological father at the age of 16 he really set a standard. I remember sitting on his back patio with him and his wife. They were holding hands and just enjoying their evening. When he looked at her and said, "Have I told you I love you today?" She responded, "No. I don't think so." To which he said, "Oh, I will. By the end of the day I'll let you know." Damn, it was simple but so cute. He later explained it was a twist on a movie quote but one he always really liked. They did little things like that a lot and I knew in that particular moment that I wanted that same treatment. Sure enough, one day my now husband and I were sitting together, just relaxing with the movie. And he says, "Have I told you how much I love you today?" I smiled and said no. Not yet, and had tears in my eyes. He was, of course, confused, and I explained what had me so taken aback. I had never told him that story before. I knew right then that I didn't want to spend my life with anyone else. I had found what I was looking for. When we had been dating for 2 months and I found out I was 2 months pregnant from a one night stand. He told me not to worry, we would figure it out. Was married 5 months later and had 5 great years and 1 more kid before he passed away. Super late to the party. But I'll share my mom's and my stepdad's. My mom at the time was a separated mother of 3, and me and my brother are twins. Compounding the idiocy of male toddlers, and she had a rough time finding a guy who wanted to stick around and be a good dad. She finally worked up the question of, do you want to be in our stupid, crazy, chaotic family? My dad's response was, well, someone has to teach your boys how to spit. They've been together for 21ish years now. Married since 1999, my stepdad had to pay for the whole divorce. He really wanted to marry my mom. Little did she know. That dumb sense of humor would only get worse. And me and my brother are like little parrots of my dad. She deals with it all the time. My wife was my proctologist first. I remember going in for my first appointment and was just immediately embarrassed. I thought she was beautiful and she was about to look at my misbehaving nail area. I immediately got anxious and told her I had to rebook the appointment and was red as a beet. She smiled and said no problem, and I left. The itchiness and pain was too much, so I went to a pharmacy and got some creams and then went home. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I rebooked the appointment and went and paid the fee, but told her I just wanted to ask her out for dinner. She said yes, and I got a new proctologist. 16 years married now. I'm kinda quirky. I built a Chuck E. Cheese style ball pit in my apartment in college. It was in a closet under the stairs. Thing was, I was poor and those gonads were expensive. So it was a very small ball pit. During finals week he insisted he'd drive me to one of my finals. I kept saying I'd be fine. But he said it was too cold and it would be nice to be picked up in an already warmed up car. He said it would be late and he didn't want me waking in the dark. etc. Finally I agreed. I took my final and walked out and got into his car. He gave me this look. Then looked to the backseat. Then back to me. I looked at the backseat of his car to find that he had filled it with 800 ball pit gonads. They were my Christmas gift. We've been married for 2 years now. Together for almost 5. The day I actually met him, his car was broke down and he rode his bike about 20 miles to my house to meet with my friend. His girlfriend at the time. She dumped him the next day and I snatched him up. Been together for almost 25 years and he's got a brand new car. He put his hand on my back when we were walking down the street. Something about the way he touched me was unlike the touch of any other boyfriend before him. I can't really explain it. When he put his hand on my back, I felt like he was promising to always take care of me and protect me, even though I knew all he was doing was walking down the street. I can answer for my wife. She is sober now for 9 years. When we started dating I told her I wouldn't drink while we were dating. Then we got engaged. And now married. I still don't drink and I don't plan on doing it until I die. I've never had a drinking problem and I never needed sobriety, but I made a promise and I intend to keep it. I knew I wanted to be with him the night we met and the movie we saw shook me up emotionally and he was comforting me. But I knew I wanted to be with him forever when I saw him play with his children. They were coming over for their weekend with dad. And he said, I swear I'm not ignoring you. But I missed them. I said go for it. They're your babies. Getting down on the ground playing action figures with them. Understanding the 2-year-old's babbling stories. Letting the 6-year-old take the lead on the storyline. He wasn't just a father. He was a daddy. I knew he was the one to be the daddy to my children. He's only gotten sweeter and more loving as the years pass. My moment came while I was staying over at his apartment. Up until that point, he only had one pillow on his bed and we would share it. The next day, We went to the store and he bought 2 brand new pillows so we would both be comfortable. And he came to bed with his mouth guarded. And I sheepishly held up mine too. Also, the time that I accidentally farted horribly loud. He lifted up his leg and let out a courtesy fart so I wouldn't feel bad. Meant to be. Edit, I can't believe my highest rated comment is about farting. And yes, my username is relevant. Unfortunately, it's a harsh, frequent reality with Crohn's disease. My car broke down in downtown Houston while I was working. He came and switched cars with me. Took it straight to a mechanic. Had it fixed, it through a serpentine belt. Paid for it. And was waiting at my house when I got off work a couple hours later. The only thing he said was I went ahead and had the oil changed. Many small things. He fixed my friend's car because she did not have money. He was kind to people. He used to call and say, "Can I come be where you are?" He brought me a chocolate bar when an ex sent me a horrible letter. He made me laugh. There was one day when I knew that if I married him, I'd never wish I had looked around longer or dated more. We've been married 24 years. He is still the kindest man I know. I've been married for 3 years. I don't think it was one big thing, but it was a bunch of smaller things. The way he looks at me. The way he treats me. He doesn't mind singing in the car. He does silly stuff to make me laugh. We'd been happily dating for 5 years. He fell off a fence showing off at a party and shattered his tibia. After an incredibly stressful 24 hours in the emergency room. Then 2 days waiting for the swelling to go down. He was finally operated on. I went shopping to keep myself occupied during the surgery. And I was browsing handbags or some shit when I stopped walking, breathing, and thinking. I just said to myself, I have to be with this man forever. I rushed back to the hospital to wait in his room. And he called me from recovery crying because he didn't know where I was. While he was off his tits on morphine. I told him how I felt. He says he doesn't remember. But I think he does. 9 months later he got down on that knee and proposed. And we married a year from that day. We both referenced the accident in our vows. He's not allowed to climb any more fences. We've been married for 6 months now. And I'm so happy we did. We had been dating for like a week. He was house sitting and taking care of 2 very expensive dogs and I accidentally let them loose in the middle of the night. I was freaking out sure they were gone for good but he was like no problem I'll go find them. 2 hours later he came back with them and wasn't even mad. He always handles emergencies like this. 30 years later he is still a very happy and chill guy. We were best friends. I would like him and then he would like me. But never at the same time. Then timing was just right and we like each other at the same time. It was a big deal for me because I knew that if I kissed him, we would either have to be together forever or never see each other again. We kissed and we have been together for 18 years. We have known each other since 4th grade. He's still my best friend. Not entirely sure. He asked me 3 or 4 times and I kept saying no because I wasn't ready. Then one day a couple friends of ours were going to go to the JP after eating our lunch and he asked again. This time I got this feeling that I'd better say yes. So I said, yeah, okay. I guess we better or I'll regret it for the rest of my life. 23 years later. Still married and more in love than the day we tied the knot. I kinda knew the minute I met him while sitting at a bar. And when he touched my elbow I totally understood for the first time why people have one night stands. But the deal was done when he told me about being a kid and sitting on his friend's lap in the cafeteria. Getting ridiculed for it. And realizing that our society is ducked there is nothing wrong with a dude sitting on another dude's lap. In a nutshell. I knew he shared my values. Was sensitive. But strong. Incredibly kind. And smart. Also. He's the funniest person I've ever met. It wasn't necessarily what he did but how he made me feel. Every relationship I've ever been in. My mind has been all over the place. My anxiety was out of control always. Will I love this person forever? Do they love me? Are they going to cheat on me? Am I happy? Are they happy? etc. One day I realized I'd never even had to ask myself those questions when it came to him. He's my best friend. And we were friends for years before we realized we had feelings for each other. And apparently all our other friends knew and were waiting for us to figure it out. We got married in October. I remember this moment like it was yesterday. We had been dating for less than 2 months. And we were at a small wine bar for his birthday. We were sitting outside drinking wine and eating the most amazing grilled cheese sandwiches in existence. Our eyes locked at one point. And the look in his eyes was complete admiration and love. He tilted his head a bit and did a sort of half smile. I felt so at ease. So comfortable. I knew at that moment. We've been married for a little over 3 years. Been together for almost 7 years.